washing machine's going. Better turn it off or close that door. It's about as good as it gets. Hi, today we're having a look at this knife. This is a farm and field tool by Great Eastern Cutlery. There it is. This was sent as a gift to me by one of my viewers, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart. Obviously, I thanked Stuart in an email as well, but I'd never expect anyone to send me anything for nothing for free. But you know, I get it. I send people things as well that I like. It's just, there's a psychology to it, and it's pleasant. It feels good to do good and feels good to give. So I often do the same. So yes, thank you, although there is never any expectation, and if I never got given anything else for this whole YouTube thing, that would be fun. But yes, it is lovely to get a knife as fine as this one as well as a gift. So this is a traditional knife, as you can probably see. It's an old-timey rear-ended lockback, very, very standard traditional pattern, which I really like. The thing I like about traditionals is when they just have the one blade. Multi-bladed traditionals, I'm not quite there yet. Not sure if I ever will be there. But single blade traditionals, really fond of. This is a GEC in, well, not quite its purest form, but in terms of its materials, it is in 1095 steel, and it has like a Delrin or plastic style handle rather than a more traditional wooden or bone handle, which, to be honest, I prefer as well. The wooden and the bone handles don't quite do it for me. I am never as pleased, but I love the orange plastic here. Reminds me a bit of my Spyderco Manbug, for example, or my Ladybug Dragonfly, my Spyderco Dragonfly. Reminds me of that. I like knives that stand out a bit and do their own unique thing. So it's a simple knife. There isn't a huge amount to say. What I'll be doing as I talk, I'll be rolling in my clips of me using the knife and my footage, but this is largely going to be a positive review with the obvious caveat that it's about a traditional knife, which you're either going to get or not get. So, and to truth be told, I'm still pretty much on the fence there of, quite often not getting it, especially not getting how the cost of these is so high. In Australia, at the very least, you're looking at about $150 for not this, but for anything with the wood or the bone. It's a lot of money, and I do struggle myself even with pulling the trigger on something like that versus something like a Benchmade or a Spyderco or a Kaiser or something like that. There are benefits, and there is definitely a matter of taste here. But yeah, truth be told, I struggle to pull the trigger on these as well. But having got one given as a gift, what a great gift knife this is as well, to be honest. But also, it does make you say, well, I've got one now. Let's see how it uses, and it uses really well. I might take this to the tabletop because it's hard to stay in focus when I'm talking to you like this. But yes, I did want to start off the video by saying thank you to Stuart and saying, yeah, this is already not going to be the knife for everyone because it's traditional. It's even a slightly different traditional. But yeah, if that interests you, then by all means, keep watching. So I guess one of the first questions that people will jump to when watching video review is, hey, you're on video, I can see the knife, that's great, but what does it feel like? How big is it? So let's roll in a montage of size comparisons for a start. With regard to weight, it's going to be about the same weight class as the Spyderco Delica. It comes in at about 68 grams. Spyderco Delica comes in between 69 and 70, depending on really what day it is by the sounds of things, by the seeming to me anyway. So yeah, it's definitely that lightweight, everyday carry size. And in terms of the pattern it leaves in the pocket, it is rather sort of minuscule as well. So it's just a thin little stick of a knife really, with some protrusion here, but nothing that anyone who's ever carried a Spyderco or indeed any thumb stud knife really is going to be too upset by. So there you go. Really, really carryable, really manageable knife. Now, obviously it doesn't have a pocket clip. How do I feel about that? I like a pocket clip, I do. But then when you think about the actual pragmatism of it, I haven't noticed any situations where I have needed my knife that 1 second earlier by having a pocket clip on it there for saving the day, sort of thing. So it's not been that bad. And again, with the opening mechanism as well. It's got a good generous nail nick there, which you can just grab onto. I never really put my nails into these things because that's like one of those ASMR-y things that I really don't like. It's like a nails on a blackboard to me. The feeling of my nail catching under, especially on a slightly stiffer knife, catching under a nail nick, gives me the chills. But this luckily is not a stiff knife at all. This one, being a lock back, they don't have to worry about the walk and the torque, which some people really eschew as part of the whole experience for a traditional knife, but I like this smooth single motion action. Really, really nice. There isn't really even a half stop. It is just all the way around, slightly more resistance here, wanting to close. And then from here, it's a little bit smoother, but really good action, good life. It's very much just a simple blade. Positives of this knife is it slices really well. It's got a nicely thin ground blade, very thin behind the edge. Traditional knives, people will often say, are the best slicers in the business. Whether or not I agree with that, I'm not sure. I think there's been some really great hollow ground cold steel knives, some flat ground Spyderco knives that really do the job as well, just as well. But for what what you really have is a old pattern. Slicing was definitely a priority back in these old days, which is, I guess, when these knives were actually used on often fresh meat, which slicing was actually a large priority use. So they still are carrying that sort of with them and very much performing very, very well slicing food like apples and celery and onions and all sorts of things that you slice just in the course of your sandwich making days. Fit and finish on this knife is... well, it's good, but there are a couple of little things. The spine is really rough just here, which is obviously just part of after the grinding process. There's a bit of a burr there as you run your finger up. Fine, obviously, it doesn't affect anything, but that's going to bring it up. These are often sort of made as, if you want great fit and finish, you get a Grady & Cutlery pocket knife, and truth be told, it isn't the be all and end all in fit finish. Got to say it, it is what it is. There's just a couple of little plastic seamy bits on the end that are just a bit rough to the touch, just where the plastics, either when they've molded it and then pulled away the injection tool or something, just leaves a little bit of a texture which you could probably polish out if you're too bothered. I'm not bothered. Truth bombs there. I'm not bothered, but people often ask you to comment on the fit and finish, and it's 90% easily, but there's just a couple of little things. That's all. This is a pin construction knife, so you can't take it apart, which is another thing that people, again, largely traditionals, you're going to be on board with that anyway. It's not going to be news to you. But if that is something that affects you, then there you go. In terms of blade steel, you get basic old 1095. 1095 is a fine steel. It's an unusual steel to have in a pocket knife these days. Back in the old days, absolutely, everyone had 1095 steel knives. And these guys are really going for the whole olden days thing. I mean, look how they ship them. What have we got here? So this is number... They're still on a tube, so where we are. Number 992114LB Orange Delrin. This is the tube it comes in. Really, really old-fashioned. Like, look at the little fonts and everything like that. So they're selling a traditional, old-timey knife, and so they're using an old-timey steel, which out of all the old-timey steels is probably one of the better performers. I mean, you could say that D2 might be a better old-timey steel to perform, or O1, but 1095, you're going to be able to maintain this in the farm or in the field. That is for sure. So I don't really have an issue with the choice here. Just things to know, it's going to patina. So maybe I'll show a before or after shot. This is the patina it's got so far. You can see there, that's not wiping off. So that's just like the color of the steel now. It's just where various acids have sort of etched their way into that surface. It's not rust. It's just kind of a gradual patina bluing of the steel. It's light corrosion that begins to sort of build up a bit like how when, and this is going to be wrong in some levels but right in some others, a bit like how when say your skin could get, when you get, it's like getting a tan, isn't it? You know, so you get a tan, which actually prevents more sunburn to an extent. So you look at the patina like the knife getting a suntan, sort of. Again, I'm using very, drawing a bit of a long bow here, but that's kind of how I see patina. It's like getting a bit of a tan. It's probably not, still, there is no healthy tan, maybe is the, in terms of the pure health of the steel and the knife, but in terms of just practical day by day, letting a patina form on it is absolutely fine, as long as you keep the knife actually clean and don't cut raw chicken and then leave it for a day and then go and cut your kid's salad up, So that's fine, but it is what it is. It's a patina and it's going to get one because it's $10.95 steel. Overall, the lockback is strong. It's got a slight play to it, which you'll often find these further down lockbacks will have, especially in the more traditional knives, where they often polish them up in the factory. They polish up these bits, and the polishing process does make slight rounded areas rather, which can also lead to like a lack of extreme tolerance. This isn't going to shake out on you, but it does have a slight movement up and down. Again, I don't care, but people want to know these things, so there you go. I really, really liked this knife. I think partly because it was a gift that came just at the right time. It was just well timed, Stu. Like, it's just like, oh man, that's awesome. I was just feeling a bit flat for the last little while, and then get a couple of awesome packages. This, and also a Para 2 from someone. I mean, holy crap, you people are nice. And yeah, it's holding a special place. And I've carried nothing but it since I got it, really, which is another cool thing. It's actually held my attention. I think that's partly the orange, it's partly just the uniqueness I don't have currently. I've got those 2 case knives actually, but they're a bit small to carry. This is a nice, decent sized everyday carry knife. I always find it really hard to price and source these. They kind of make them like, I feel like they make like three at a time of one of maybe 1,000 different patterns, and then you find it really hard to point people towards these. The only advice I give, check out Knives Ship Free, DLT Trading, groups like that. They seem to get the lion's share of these. Cutlery Shop, is it? Yeah. Have a look. I can't really help you for sourcing this exact one, I'm sorry to say, but you'll be able to find something that's probably either in a different color of Delrin or the same pattern but with bone or something similar, or maybe with a second blade, something like that. But I think you're going to pay about sort of $90 maybe, or 70 to 90 US dollars. That's kind of what I feel I've seen some up for, so there you go. In Australia, you probably pay about $140 for something like this. So, Spyderco-ish level prices for something that has just a different thing going on, just a bit of charm, a bit of swagger, still pure utility, obviously. I mean, you can still open it and use it within a second. I don't get this whole, high speed necessity that we have on knives. Like, I've never had this, be late on me for an urgent cutting task. One thing I have noticed true about pocket knives with one-hand mechanisms is, say if you're already holding the thing you need to cut, say if you're a bit chaos like I am, like I'm a little bit chaos when I do things, like I'll pick up the thing and then be like, oh, I need to cut this, then like put it awkwardly between my knees and then open up my two-handed knife and then cut it. Like say the cat litter bag is a great example, whereas with the one-hand opening knife I can just be holding it still, flip it open and then make the cut. So that is something to, I guess, say about one-hand opening versus two-hand opening, but really, for everyone's purposes, two-hander, I don't know. It's fine. Surely it's fine. Are we gonna really go and say it's the end of the world? Because I don't think it is. Great Eastern Cutlery, I think number 71, Farm and Field tool, I think. It's a good one and I really like it, and it's just done fine with me and it's staying, that's for sure. I enjoy it a lot. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.